In the towering realms where the earth kisses the sky, and the world narrows into a tapestry of ice and stone, a fundamental question echoes. How do animals tenaciously cling to life in such an implacable domain, where temperatures plummet to minus 40 degrees Celsius and oxygen levels diminish by 40% compared to the sea level? This is not a haven of abundance but a realm of stark contrasts, where existence is both a marvel and an incessant battle. A mere 10% of the world's species possess the fortitude to withstand such formidable conditions. Mountainous environments stand as some of the most extreme habitats on Earth, with altitudes soaring beyond 8,000 meters, as witnessed in the Himalayas, where survival metamorphoses into a daily confrontation against the very elements themselves. The mountainous domain is an environment stripped bare of comfort, where barren landscapes proffer scant shelter or sustenance. Vegetation is sparse, and what does manage to grow is often stunted and resilient, necessitating animals to adapt their diets and foraging behaviors to subsist. How does the lack of oxygen at high altitudes further compound the challenges? Animals have evolved unique physiological adaptations, such as the augmented red blood cell counts observed in Andean condors, enabling them to soar at altitudes exceeding 5,000 meters. The snow leopard, a spectral predator of these heights, boasts a capacious nasal cavity to warm the frigid air and an exceptionally efficient blood-oxygen exchange system, empowering it to flourish where others would perish, capable of enduring altitudes of up to 5,500 meters. Survival within mountainous environments transcends a mere battle against the cold. It extends to a confrontation against one another. The scarcity of resources dictates that every living creature, from the minutest insect to the most imposing predator, engages in fierce competition. Food sources are restricted, and the distances separating them are vast, sometimes necessitating animals to traverse up to 30 kilometers daily in quest of sustenance, as exemplified by the Himalayan tahr. This relentless pursuit forces animals into a life of perpetual movement and vigilance, as they scavenge for sustenance in a landscape where every calorie counts. Adding to the ordeal is the capricious nature of mountain weather. One moment, the sun may cast a deceptive warmth across the landscape, and the next, a storm descends, heralding snow, sleet, and biting winds. Wind speeds can surge to 160 kilometers per hour, as documented in the Andes, and these abrupt shifts in weather can ensnare even the most seasoned mountain dwellers, precipitating perilous situations such as avalanches, which can unleash up to 300,000 tons of snow in a single event. The mountain goat, renowned for its sure-footed grace, may find itself marooned on a ledge by a sudden blizzard, its survival hinging on its capacity to endure the storm, where temperatures can plummet by 20 degrees Celsius within a mere hour. Yet, it is not solely large mammals that have adapted in remarkable ways. Insects, birds, and even plants have undergone extraordinary transformations. Consider the alpine bumblebee, which has evolved to fly at altitudes where oxygen levels are so meager that most insects would falter. This diminutive creature's wings beat with increased rapidity in the thin air, generating the lift required to navigate the precipitous slopes in pursuit of nectar. Hardy mountain flora have cultivated resilient, waxy leaves to curtail water loss and withstand the cold, empowering them to thrive in this harsh climate where more delicate species would wither. Much like the edelweiss, which flourishes at altitudes exceeding 2,000 meters. Within this dramatic landscape, life unfolds as a delicate dance, a series of adaptations and strategies honed over millennia to defy the odds. Every species inhabiting these high-altitude environments assumes a pivotal role within a complex ecosystem, where the survival of one often hinges upon the survival of many. The predator and prey, the plant and pollinator, are all intricately intertwined within a web of life that is as fragile as it is resilient. Despite the arduous conditions, these animals have not only persevered but have also thrived in one of the most challenging environments on Earth. Their existence stands as a testament to the astounding adaptability of life, and their stories serve as a vivid illustration of the relentless drive to endure against all odds. However, as the planet undergoes warming, the frigid sanctuaries of the mountains are undergoing transformations that profoundly impact the creatures that dwell within them. Glaciers are retreating at an alarming rate, relinquishing nearly 1.2 trillion tons of ice annually on a global scale. For centuries, mountain animals have adapted to the frigid, stable climates of these high-altitude environments, but now, global warming is disrupting this delicate equilibrium. Average global temperatures have surged by 1 degree Celsius since pre-industrial times, substantially altering mountain ecosystems. Rising temperatures are instigating glacier retreat, snowline ascensions, and unpredictable shifts in seasonal patterns within this evolving landscape. Animals such as the iconic snow leopard and the elusive mountain hare are witnessing the shrinkage of their habitats. The snow leopard's range has diminished by 40% over the past few decades. These species are exquisitely attuned to the cold, relying on the deep snow and freezing temperatures to thrive. As the snow recedes, so too does their world. The snow leopard, once camouflaged by its snowy surroundings, becomes more conspicuous to prey and rivals, exacerbating the challenges of hunting. The mountain hare, which dons a white coat in winter, encounters a perilous mismatch with its environment when the snow is delayed or sparse, rendering it vulnerable to predators. The warming climate also exerts an impact on the food chain. Alpine plants, adapted to brief, cool growing seasons, are now blooming prematurely or migrating to higher altitudes where conditions remain favorable. This shift in vegetation reverberates throughout the entire ecosystem, as herbivores must embark on more extensive migrations in pursuit of sustenance, and the predators that depend on them are compelled to follow suit. For numerous animals, the escalating temperatures necessitate upward movement, yet there exists a limit to how far they can ascend. Eventually, they exhaust the mountain's reach and, with it, the resources essential for their survival. Climate change transcends mere planetary warming. It also renders weather patterns more erratic. For mountain animals, this volatility can prove as perilous as the temperature surge itself. Abrupt storms, late frosts, or unexpected thaws can disrupt the natural rhythms upon which these creatures depend for survival. Consider the migration patterns of birds that nest in mountain regions, which are being thrown into disarray. Species that once relied on specific temperature cues to time their migration now find themselves arriving prematurely or belatedly, failing to coincide with peak food availability. The black redstart, a diminutive bird that breeds in mountainous areas, may discover that the insects it typically feeds upon are no longer abundant when it requires them most, culminating in a decline in breeding success. Similarly, hibernating species, such as the marmot, which has slumbered through the harsh winter months, are awakening earlier as temperatures rise. However, with food sources remaining scarce during these premature awakenings, the energy expended during this period can lead to starvation. Even the weather patterns that define the seasons are undergoing shifts. The monsoons, which bestow life-sustaining rains upon mountain regions, are becoming less dependable. In certain years, the rains arrive tardily or not at all, depriving animals of the water they require during critical breeding and feeding periods. Conversely, when the rains arrive with excessive intensity or prematurity, they can trigger landslides and floods, devastating habitats and eroding the fragile soil essential for alpine plants to thrive. As the repercussions of climate change intensify, mountain animals are compelled to adapt or confront extinction. Yet, adaptation is no straightforward feat within these environments, where the margin for survival is already razor-thin. Evolution, which has exquisitely attuned these species to their harsh yet stable habitats, now struggles to keep pace with the rapid changes wrought by a warming world. Amidst these tribulations, there also exists resilience. Certain species are discovering means to cope, modifying their behaviors and even their physiology to better align with the novel conditions. The ptarmigan, a bird renowned for altering its plumage with the seasons, is commencing its molt earlier in response to warmer temperatures. Meanwhile, certain populations of mountain goats are adjusting their grazing habits, shifting their ranges to identify more suitable environments. The interconnectedness of life within these high-altitude ecosystems signifies that alterations in one species cascade throughout the entire community. The survival of one often hinges upon the survival of many, engendering a delicate equilibrium that is now being tested as never before. As plants, prey, and predators all shift their ranges and behaviors, the mountains themselves transform into a dynamic landscape, a realm where adaptation is perpetual and survival remains uncertain. Within the high-altitude domains where the Earth's bones jut towards the heavens, life unfolds as a perpetual battle against the elements, the rugged terrain, and the ever-present specter of hunger. Here, amidst the harsh embrace of the mountains, the challenges confronting animals are as towering as the peaks themselves. For those who call these heights home, survival transcends mere endurance. It is a relentless, daily struggle. The initial harbinger of change in the mountains often manifests as the thaw of winter, when the snow commences its retreat, revealing the rocky, barren ground beneath. For the snow geese, which depend on precise seasonal timing for their migration, the premature arrival of spring can spell disaster. These birds, adapted to the cold and prepared for the predictable progression of seasons, may find themselves returning to nesting grounds that remain buried beneath snow or devoid of the vegetation essential to sustain their young. As global warming accelerates these shifts, they become increasingly commonplace, compelling snow geese to adjust their migratory patterns or risk losing their offspring to starvation. The unpredictability of spring's arrival challenges their survival, as they must navigate evolving conditions while adhering to the ancient rhythms that have governed their migrations for millennia. High within the snow-clad mountains of Central Asia, the snow leopard, a spectral predator of the peaks, prowls its territory in quest of prey. These solitary hunters, impeccably adapted to the thin air and rugged terrain, confront an increasingly desperate quest for sustenance. As the climate warms and their prey migrates to higher or disparate areas, snow leopards are compelled to traverse greater distances across perilous landscapes, expending precious energy reserves. The shrinking habitat not only renders hunting more arduous but also precipitates more frequent conflicts between snow leopards and humans, as they occasionally prey on livestock when wild game becomes scarce. This struggle underscores the fragile equilibrium that snow leopards must uphold, constantly assessing the risks of a hunt that may lead them across treacherous cliffs or into the territory of a rival. In the highlands of Ethiopia, another battle for survival unfolds among the gelada monkeys, which reside at elevations of up to 4,500 meters, higher than any other primate. These unique primates, often dubbed bleeding heart baboons due to the vivid red patch adorning their chests, inhabit the grassy plateaus that rise above the tree line. Here, life constitutes a fierce competition for resources and dominance within the troop. Gelada monkeys are herbivores, dedicating hours each day to foraging for the coarse blades that flourish in their rugged environment, sometimes consuming up to 60% of their body weight in grass daily to satisfy their energy requirements. However, as climate change alters the availability of their food sources, these primates confront escalating challenges. Males, in particular, engage in brutal skirmishes for control of harems, cognizant that dominance can signify the divergence between passing on their genes or being relegated to the periphery of the troop. The perpetual struggle for food and power leaves little margin for error within these lofty, windswept realms. Amidst the craggy peaks of North America, the mountain goat, a sure-footed emblem of alpine survival, descends from its lofty perches to seek out something as indispensable as life itself: minerals. High-altitude environments frequently lack the salt and other minerals crucial to the goat's health, compelling them to venture down into the valleys where such resources can be procured, sometimes traversing over 20 kilometers in a single journey. These journeys are fraught with peril, as they transition from the relative sanctuary of the cliffs to the open terrain of the valleys, rendering mountain goats more vulnerable to predators such as wolves and bears. The imperative to balance their dietary requirements with the risks of predation constitutes a delicate dance, one that these hardy animals must perform with regularity to survive. While descending to procure minerals is perilous, remaining in the mountains during heavy snowfall presents its own array of dangers. When snow accumulates to great depths, it can bury the vegetation upon which mountain goats rely for sustenance, compelling them to excavate through deep drifts to secure nourishment. This exertion consumes precious energy, weakening the goats precisely when they become more exposed to predators. Heavy snowfall also begets opportunities for predators, which can track the weakened goats more effortlessly through the snow. Cougars and wolves, in particular, exploit these conditions, transforming the deep snows into hunting grounds where the odds are stacked in their favor. For mountain goats, survival through the winter months hinges upon their capacity to navigate these treacherous conditions, conserving energy while evading the watchful eyes of predators. As winter descends upon the world's loftiest peaks, the mountains metamorphose into a realm of ice and snow, where survival devolves into a relentless struggle against the elements, with temperatures frequently plummeting to -20 degrees Celsius or lower. For the animals that call these rugged landscapes home, winter transcends mere seasonality. It metamorphoses into a gauntlet of challenges that test their resilience to the fullest extent. Within the remote, towering heights of mountain ranges, winter storms arrive with a ferocity unmatched in the lowlands. The once clear skies are swiftly engulfed by swirling clouds, and the temperature plummets precipitously as fierce winds drive sheets of snow across the landscape, engendering wind chills that can freeze exposed skin in a matter of minutes. In the face of such extreme conditions, mountain animals must employ a diverse arsenal of survival strategies. Some species, such as the marmot, enter a state of deep hibernation, reducing their metabolic rate to a mere fraction of its normal level and relying on stored fat reserves to sustain them through the long winter months. Other animals, such as the snowshoe hare, adapt their behavior, seeking shelter in dense forests or beneath the snowpack to escape the biting winds and frigid temperatures. The challenges of winter are not solely confined to the cold, they also encompass the scarcity of food. Many mountain animals must forage tirelessly for sustenance, scraping away snow to uncover dormant vegetation or preying on other animals that are equally desperate for survival. The competition for resources intensifies during the winter months, as animals vie for access to limited food supplies. The constant struggle for survival during the winter months takes a heavy toll on mountain animals. Many individuals succumb to the cold, starvation, or predation, leaving only the strongest and most resilient to carry on. The survivors emerge from winter weakened and depleted, but they are also hardened by the experience, ready to face the challenges of the coming spring. As the snow melts and the temperatures rise, the mountains gradually awaken from their winter slumber. The return of spring brings renewed hope for mountain animals, but it also heralds new challenges. The melting snowpack can trigger floods and landslides, which can devastate habitats and disrupt ecosystems. Animals must also adapt to the changing availability of food, as plants begin to grow and insects emerge from their winter dormancy. Despite the challenges, spring is a time of abundance and renewal in the mountains. Animals emerge from their winter shelters, eager to mate, raise their young, and replenish their depleted energy reserves. The cycle of life continues in the mountains, driven by the relentless forces of nature. As the planet continues to warm, the future of mountain ecosystems remains uncertain. The changes wrought by climate change are already having a profound impact on mountain animals, and the challenges they face are only likely to intensify in the years to come. It is imperative that we take action to mitigate climate change and protect these fragile ecosystems, ensuring that future generations can marvel at the resilience and adaptability of mountain animals.